Creativity is an addiction. Unplugged because we will always say yes to creativity. Totally uncut because we all make mistakes. So turn it into a tool. This is Arroe Unplugged. I think one of the joys about being a daily writer is having the opportunity to hold these thoughts and words from different time periods. Like here was yesterday's subject, time blindness. It's fun to go in there and see if my interpretation of time blindness is the same thing as it is today. It's fascinating. And it's one of those things where, as a writer, you're given the opportunity to not just save it for yourself, but to give it to somebody in the future that's going to ask that question. I wonder what it was like. Because I don't know what it was like for my mother and father as they were growing up. I was talking with Leslie Iwerks from Disney today, and she's part of this big DC presentation, a 3-part documentary. And I asked the question, who was my father's superhero? I didn't get to ask that question because my father was a teenager during World War II. He was in Germany. Who was his superstar, his superpower? It really did provide a great conversation. You know, it's not our age, but my wife and I, we enjoy watching television shows from the black and white era of broadcasting. These would be the shows that my parents grew up watching. Many times I've been shocked at how the writers and directors got away with putting things on television that would never make it to the flat screen today. Research shows that fans of old television programming do so because it allows our imaginations to dive into a social world that we already know or feel connected with. The emotion is that of meeting an old friend. People with anxiety will rewatch the same old shows. It allows them to have a sense of control. Little stuff like this, it fascinates me. The journey and or way that I walk is truly fed by this thing called awareness. How we got here is not always the most important thing. It's what we're doing with what we already have. Hey, it's Arroe. This is The Daily Mess, a chronological walk through an everyday world. I am a daily writer. It's about being that silent wolf, taking one big look at the world and saying, we've got a conversation here. It's time to start sharing. This is The Daily Mess. The forest fires that are taking place right now in Canada continue to spoil our summer air here in Carolina. The grayish haze offers nothing to the beauty of the unforgettable skyline or mountainside. Depending on which side of the fence you're standing on, will put your voice inside a global conversation, be it climate change or the lack of manpower to handle an area of the world that rarely burns like it is right now. The shocking thing about any news is this clickbait social media driven world. I mean, there used to be a time when the television news anchors, when they said something, you trusted it. Today we're experiencing 7 different ways to read into and or judge the facts because in our hearts that just doesn't feel right. It doesn't seem right. Therefore, it must not be happening. Or if it is, well, I'm going to embrace a different side of the story. What's real in a world that feels fake? More importantly, what's being written by an AI? It's still a scary subject, these AIs, and we can talk about how the new Mission Impossible really dives into the power and potential of what AIs could one day do. I had a gentleman tell me, though, an expert on AIs, he said, look, we can't even create robots that last 40 minutes. Why do you think an AI would take over the world? Or even, I like this Joe Walsh from the Eagles. He goes, here's the thing. AIs are not going to injure the world of music. The reason why is because AIs don't have the human emotion attached to them. AIs can't throw television sets out windows at hotels. AIs can't even destroy a hotel room. AIs are something that I don't fear. That's what Joe Walsh said. It kind of calms you down a bit. It makes you wonder, why are we so afraid of the future? And are you afraid of what is right now, which is the reason why you might be living in the past? Are you filled with that anxiety? Is that the reason why you keep watching Friends over and over again? Learning how to be present is one of the most difficult journeys because it's too easy to skip off into the past or to think about a future that you really have no control over. Being present, learn to write about it. Take your smartphone and put it to work for you. Create a vocal journal so you can come back and you can listen to your inflection. You can be a part of everything growing forward. I'm Arroe, and that's The Daily Mess.